Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Chris Talk, your virtual podcast where we cover all issues and debates from politics to sports. Stay tuned for an interview with special guest and good friend of mine, Jesus from Jesus Christ Superstar, the movie.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Big League Chew. Chew responsibly, because only Big League Chew is for chewing.
Hey, Jesus, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chris. It's great to be on the show.
Must have been a long flight over here to St. Louis, eh?
Oh yeah, it's a good 15 hours or so.
Well then, so I was hoping we could talk about your film and which depiction of Jesus you most relate to from the Gospels.
Oh yeah, the film is a lot of fun to film, except for, the whole getting crucified thing.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too fun, Jesus. So tell me a little bit about the film and how you showed yourself in the film.
Well, starting from the beginning, we actually decided not to add in any scenes from my birth to the musical. There are also some good scenes of me healing the lepers, but the biggest focus of the film was the Passion. The Last Supper scenes between me and Judas and Peter were some very important stuff.
Incredible. So tell me a little bit about you in the movie.
I really think the apostles misunderstood what being the Messiah meant.
Well, what did they think you were there to do?
They wanted me to lead them into battle and storm the Romans and avenge the oppressed and all that. That's just not what I came to do.
So what exactly did you come here to do?
Well, I died for your sins so that you could go to heaven.
Interesting. Now let's look at the Gospels, because I really want to see how you rank up in comparison to the Jesus in those Gospels, and especially which one you are most like.
Let's do it, Chris.
When I was reading the Gospel of Matthew, one similarity that really stood out to me was that your movie and the Gospel both have Judas dying in them.
That is true. Just a little thing from the musical there, eh?
Let's look at some differences already. You said that there are no birth stories, correct?
That is correct, Chris.
What about the characters in the stories? I noticed that the Gospel of Matthew has a lot of Jewish references.
That doesn't really seem like Jesus Christ Superstar.
I would agree with that, Jesus, but let's talk about the Jewish thing for a second. The Gospel of Matthew really has a new Moses portrait of Jesus. So how does that rank up to Jesus Christ Superstar?
Well, as I just said, it really doesn't compare that well. Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar focuses on more people than just the Jewish people.
Interesting. So what about the Gospel of Luke?
Well, what about it, Chris?
I think it is very different, to be honest.
I agree strongly. In the Gospel of Luke, the author focused on how Jesus was for everyone, which is true. I do support all people and love all people, but I feel like that wasn't the focus portrait on my movie.
So what about the key stories and characters?
There really aren't any that are in both the movie and Jesus Christ Superstar.
Ah, very interesting. So the last one I want to look at is the Gospel of Mark.
I actually think that Mark is the most relatable.
Really? Explain why.
So, like we talked about earlier, the people in the movie really misunderstood what I was there to do. They thought I was going to lead them into battle and destroy the Romans, but that wasn't what being the Messiah was about.
Ah, kind of like the Messianic secret. I see. And there are little things I like how your movie and the book both have a cliffhanger ending. And neither the Gospel or the movie has birth stories of Jesus.
Exactly. So I think that says it all. My movie is most like the Gospel of Mark.
Well, Jesus, I think that's all the time we have.
Well, thank you for having me, Chris. It's always a pleasure. Let's just play that little jingle one more time, eh?
Remember, this podcast is sponsored by Big League Chew. Chew responsibly.